Welcome to Tangled Routes, stories navigating youth and family systems. Brought to you by the National Training and Technical Assistance Center for Child, Youth, and Family Mental Health. In this episode, we hear from Paige, a young adult who shares her journey navigating early psychosis, receiving a mental health diagnosis, and finding her path forward through a combination of clinical care, family support, and deep self-acceptance.
Hello, my name is Paige, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about, my first episode of psychosis and what my experiences were. I remember fear was a huge aspect. It began to grasp every aspect of my life. I was fearful of my reality. It was filled with these voices, visions, and beliefs that in turn would cause others to fear for who I was now and what I might do next. I struggled. I fought to keep myself alive. The symptoms I was experiencing were new to myself and my family alike. We had no tools or strategies for this. My family and myself saw me go from this overachieving college student that was winning awards for their promise to a person who would lock themselves into their home, put sheets on the window out of just an absolute fear for my life. And not many people could understand it from the outside. While I know my family cared for me, I learned quickly that a lot of professionals and people in the community didn't. Mentioning the voices I would hear had me involuntarily held in a fluorescent room with no way of communicating with my family for hours at one point. And that heightened my vision so much more. I remember the first psychiatrist I saw would only see me for 10 minutes, and I would leave with a list of new medications to switch and to try, which would give me side effects to add to this ever-growing list of diagnoses I had in that time. I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of memories for a small portion of this time. I'm still unsure if this was due to trauma or one of the medications I was on. That was really scary. I had to rely on others for things that would just happen to me. One memory I do vividly have was a conversation with my husband. He asked me why I was so quiet, as I used to be someone who would have endless conversations, and I asked so many would you rather questions to keep you occupied on car rides or long trips. I thought about this question and reflected, I really couldn't think of anything. I didn't have an internal monologue. I didn't have internal ideas. Nothing was coming up. And that was a big wake-up call for me as someone who is super talkative still to this day. I was numb and my life was a mess. I had so much grief and fear, and that was the only thing I really had in my life. That was the only thing I thought. One day, though, my psychiatrist mentioned a program that could be a good fit for me. This program ended up being something different from anything I'd experienced. There was no fear when I spoke to the people in this group about my experiences. They were there for me 24/7. They even had a hotline I could call at any time. My new psychiatrist would meet with me for the full hour, listening to every experience I would share. And they never showed any fear or any shock. And that was extremely new to me. When I brought up any of these things, he would explain the medications I was on and the steps I could take with any of the choices I wanted, whether it be trying a new medication or wanting to take one out of my system. This brought a lot of hope into my life. For a long time, I thought what was before was gone completely. This program changed a lot for me and my family alike, though. They taught me strategies to make certain symptoms manageable, and they had classes for my family to attend as well, which was extremely helpful in giving them the tools to start understanding me, my symptoms, and how they can best support me. I started seeing hope after all this. It was hard work, but this program really cared for me as a whole human, and I really saw that. They always met me where I was. If I ignored calls, they would call me and then call my husband to ensure I was okay, just to check in, which was good because in previous things, there's always penalties. There's always penalties for missing appointments, but they always understood they very much saw me as a whole person with that. When I had a really bad day, they would answer my call and work to get me a same-day appointment to discuss a previously made safety plan that we'd went through. But the best support they gave me was changing the view of my voices and my visions. The misunderstanding of others caused me to be terrified, over-medicated, and misdiagnosed to a point that would make my life just completely void, scary, and empty. They wanted me to be who they thought was normal, and they wanted to get rid of what they saw as a problem completely. Then I started understanding that I could have a different reality than anyone else with my additional voices and visions. And they aren't necessarily evil. Instead of ignoring them, medicating myself, or shutting down completely, that's what I used to do. Now I would talk to them. I started questioning them, speaking to them with kindness, and even setting boundaries when needed, which at first sounded really silly because, there's that stigma in life. Like, talking to yourself is not seen as a good thing in society, but it was extremely helpful for me. Things started to be different then. I stopped certain medications with, of course, the approval of my psychiatrist. And I slowly started to regain joy, regain my life, and regain that inner monologue. My inner thoughts are back. I do still have moments where I grieve my life before these symptoms because it all isn't the same. But I can proudly say that I'm thriving in a whole new different way. I have a child now. I have a job I absolutely love, and I have a support system that is there for me when I need them. While I still have these distressing moments, I know those don't define me, and now I'm equipped with the tools to support myself in getting through a bad spot. Something I would tell others experiencing similar situations would be to keep going. It's scary and it's hard. Sometimes people will treat your existence as a problem, and they don't take the time to understand you as a whole human. But here's the thing, you are human, and this is your reality. You are not a problem, and you are not someone to fear. Find people who understand that. I promise they are out there.
Thank you for listening to Paige's powerful story, Untangled Routes, Stories Navigating Youth and Family Systems. Her journey through early psychosis and into joy and self-trust shows what's possible when care is compassionate, collaborative, and rooted in respect. With the right support, Paige didn't only survive. She stepped into motherhood, love, and a life full of meaning. Paige's words are a reminder that people with mental health needs are not broken. They're human, and they deserve to be treated as such. If you or someone you know is navigating a new diagnosis, let this episode be a reminder. You are not alone. There is support, there is healing, and there is still joy ahead. To explore resources on early psychosis, family psychoeducation, and person-centered care, visit the NTAC website or check out the show notes. NTAC supports children, youth, and families living with mental health needs by promoting access to evidence-based and community-driven solutions. We create spaces for providers and leaders to learn, grow, and build a national support network. This podcast series was prepared for NTAC under a cooperative agreement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS. This event is supported by HHS as part of a Financial Assistance Award, SM 20008, over 5 years, 2020 through 2025, and 100% funded by HHS. The contents and views shared during each session are those of the speaker or speakers and do not necessarily represent the official views of, nor an endorsement by, HHS or the U.S. government.